effects are fun. Let's see if I can just throw some reverb on here real quick. We'll do some of this, and we'll do sends return. Here we go. Check. Okay. So there's effects on the mixer. Great, awesome. And we'll turn this down. So there's effects on some mixers, not all of them, okay? The cool part about the effects is you can kind of get a little more a little more spacious, and also just add a little reverb too. It's kind of just the go-to. Most of these you can only choose like one specific effect, but that's okay. The cool part is you can control how much of that effect on every instrument. So I can make the vocals all crazy spacious, and I can make maybe just the guitar or piano not as much. And then as you use more effects, obviously it's gonna fill the sound in. But I would probably just use some reverb, simple reverb, and we can also change that too, right? 10, we'll go to 1 hall, and we'll go here. This is reverb. Honestly, it's a beautiful effect. It gives it that I would just add a little bit of this. And what this does is it's going to give you the ability to take these instruments and sound sources and put them either further back, larger, more space, but primarily I would use it in the sense of making it larger and further back. So let's say if I had, I wouldn't necessarily want to put reverb on some of the low stuff because it kind of muddies everything up. So that would be like drums and bass. But putting it on like, some of the vocals and the guitar, it would put the guitar in such this larger field that it would kind of tangle into some of the other, sound spectrum, but it would be delicate. It would be behind everything, if that makes any sense. So reverb is fun to play with, as you can tell. Sounds great. And then below that, and now that we've kind of talked about, and I feel like I should have started with this, but basically the idea and the concept is imagining the room that you're in as, like a box or a square, and imagine the energy that's coming out of the speakers and the direction that's coming out. This all creates what's called this soundscape, the sound field, the sound realm, whichever one of those words you'd like to use, but we'll call it the sound sphere, okay? This is going to give you the ability to control and put everything almost on a specific part of the stage, in a sense. We've talked about reverb kind of making it forward and backward in the room, more spacious and out beyond. But also we've talked about compression that pushes things forward. Then this thing, now that we have forward and backward, this knob on the bottom is going to be more so left and right. This is also going to help with also placing things in their specific area in the sound field. So this is going to pretty much, I'll do this real quick. I'll put one on the far right. Hopefully you can hear that. And then one on the far left. What this is doing is it's giving me the ability to kind of separate instruments and make the sound field seem larger than it is. You can make drastic instruments be on completely one side and the other. You could even do it for a second too with some vocals just to kind of freak out some of the crowd, or even like the listener in a car. If you're recording this, you can pan hard and then left and hard right. It's a little trippy, but this is going to definitely be another tool that it's overlooked by a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't consider panning, but it helps out a lot, especially with feedback too. Now, as you're going down, you're going to get to the bottom, and on this mixer, I have a couple of switches and a couple of buttons that you can see go up and down. What these represent is the final direction that we're going to send this to, whether it be main, which is the red one, the sub, which is the gray one, and then solo, which would be my headphones over here. This is going to be that group. So, and then we have a mute. We can shut people up. Okay? Comes in handy when you want to take everything down. My mixer has this record option because I can record with an SD card up here. Fun stuff. Awesome if you're, a band or anything like that. But more importantly, this is going to be the final stage and also like the final key to leveling everything out. Because you first, why you should do this from the top to bottom, is you're identifying and you're choosing the strength of the signal. You're making the signal beautiful and you're putting it in a direction. This is going to be to control the relevance of all the signals together. This is where you're going to balance everything in the end. Because once everything is strong enough and everything is good, this is where the balance will take place. When you're just using one instrument, obviously, it's pretty much just cut and dry. Get it up to a nice level, hit it close to 0. And we also have 0 that's marked here. That's going to be pretty much your sweet spot, your gold spot. You don't really want to go beyond that. Rare occasion if you really need to. But aside from that, this is going to be where, because I don't want to confuse you with gain and volume. I would just look at it as how strong and balance everything out. Best way to look at everything in the long run. And as you're going down for every single, let's say we do mic, and then we do the guitar, and then we're going to do the keyboard, and then we'll do the bass, and the remaining channels we'll use for the drums and the different pieces of the drums. Once you've gone down each channel and you've started to balance everything in, then you're going to have your final mix. Everything will be in one signal, one fader, all right? Whichever group you'd like. And you're going to choose how loud this is going to be in the environment. That's what this is for. A lot of people I see, they get the mixer, they just figure out, okay, plug this in, and then it's going to come out here, and they just start twisting things to get things good. If you're in a hurry, fine, but what we just talked about should probably give you a great idea of, okay, before I, get a bunch of feedback and make this sound terrible, let's just go from top to bottom. That's the best thing you should start with. You should start from the corner, go down from top to bottom, and then repeat the entire process. And then last but not least, bring this guy up. And since, like I said, we are also, you're here, you should be listening to everything prior before you're bringing it up on the mains. It should sound sweet, You can also send it through the monitors. We got to talk about monitors. So monitors are, we'll go back to the vocalist. As you're singing, you want to be able to reference yourself immediately. This is also another reason why people sing so great in the bathroom, because the bathroom sounds like there's a lot of reverb, but also the sound bounces off the walls so quickly and returns to your hearing quickly for you to reference. If you're able to reference your voice, you have more control over it. And this is going to be the same for every instrument. Every instrument playing, especially if they're alive, obviously, they need to be able to reference themselves. So, most scenarios, you're going to have your main speakers, and those are going to be main to the audience, okay? The priority main speaker. The monitor is, so you can monitor your sound or the sound signal in real time. That's it. Mixer, monitor, main. Super simple, super simple. So you can monitor in two ways. You can monitor through the ear, and as a singer, we'll go back to the singer. Some singers, they'll have a wireless headset that goes down to a body pack that transmits to the monitor channel, right? So they can walk around, sing into the mic, real time, and hear themselves immediately. The next form of monitoring is a stage monitor, which is typically, and you'll see them if you pay attention on stage, these are going to be the speakers that are like, they look like almost like a slice of pizza, right? They're angled like a triangle, flat, on the stage, pointed to the singer. All right? So the singer can reference themselves. So they either have something in their ear or they have something on the floor of the stage. Those are the two ways you're able to monitor. And this is the same for every instrument. Every person in the band can have a monitor. And if everybody's in the monitor, you can even have your own channel where you're talking and communicating with everybody in real time. It's actually a big thing with churches. They'll communicate and tell everybody, you gotta jump to the 1, 4, 5, 6. Hilarious. But monitoring can be very challenging. It's probably the hardest thing to do, and you're going to probably mess up in your beginning runs with a lot of feedback. But know that that's going to be the key. The key to having a good monitoring scenario is having a good mix. Okay, that's going to help you in the long run. And also, if you're setting the speakers up, like this isn't like a regular house board where the speakers are stationary. If you're setting the speakers up, you also have to consider the placement of the speaker and the microphone. Okay, so this could be the monitor and the mains. If this signal touches the signal of that speaker, that monitor, it's going to create a crazy, terrible noise that is embarrassing. So to prevent that, good speaker placement. Now, there are some microphones that are going to help with feedback. The more expensive ones, you can get a little closer because the gain picks up right here and not right here. I can kind of get on the side of the speaker, stuff like that. But avoiding feedback is the job of the sound guy. He's in keeping everything not too loud and not too quiet. So it is an important job, but understanding this is going to help you understand his job, and understanding each other is a good way to communicate. I feel like there's a lot of headbutting with sound guys in touring bands. Just know the guy's just doing his best, man. So if you're first getting into a mixer, don't be intimidated. Take it slow. I feel like most of the time people, they get into the mixer in a hurry because they need to, but if you're watching this video, you obviously are just doing your homework on mixer, so this is already fine. You're going to be okay. And then the only other thing that I think we can talk about, but I'm not going to brush on, some mixers have what's called an insert channel, and that's very similar to the monitor effects channel. Okay, the effects channel has the ability to not only there'll be effects here on board, but there's also going to be effects sometimes in an external, there might be a whole other device that they're using for effects. All right, or you can use the effects channel for other reasons, like we mentioned with like the click track, stuff like that. But basically, there's going to be another output to send audio out and then into a device and then back into the mixer before it heads out into the main. All right? Sounds crazy, I know, but basically and this is the same thing with the insert channel, okay? If you see the word insert, that is basically just an in and out with one hole, with one jack. One jack will serve as an in and out. That would be the insert, best way to call it. And then effects typically will have what's called a sends and receive, which is two channels. One will send the signal and the other will receive. And usually this is going to be before it hits the main, and that way you can use this mixer in conjunction with other devices. So that's another thing that helps out a lot. So, mixers are great. I think everybody shouldn't be intimidated by the knobs, but especially if you're a band, the hardest thing is going to be the drums. It's very difficult and tricky. And honestly, my advice for miking up the drums, obviously you have to go with what you got, but you don't have to go as hard. if you're not recording, I think you can get by with 4. I think you can get by with a 4-piece. I know, hell, Amy Winehouse's record was recorded with like a 3-piece, and there was like a bunch of like pillows and a comforter put in the kick drum, and I think actually no, it was one overhead. I think that was it. That's all they did was one microphone and maybe a kick. So there's people that are getting it done with just 2 mics, and it sounds great. But dynamically, the drums are going to sound better with multiple mics, and I think those are going to be the hardest to set up, because you also have to consider the feedback aspect, but the bleed, the control of sound. I think when you're getting into it as a band, and you're miking up a drum set, start with like a 3 or a 4. If you need more, you'll know that you need more, but that should be fine. And even for just small jams, I think doing a 2-piece is okay. One overhead and a kick. Keep it almost like a stereo. That'll keep you fine. So basically just use 2 channels, and 2 dynamic mics, preferably 1 kick mic, and you'll get by if you're a drummer. Later on, it may be even beneficial for the drummer if he wants to get, I have a 7-piece, I need 7 microphones. Maybe just getting your own mixer and then your own 8-channel mixer to put all the microphones into, so that way you can run it into the main mixer, but then you got 2 mixers. So you got to figure out that scenario. That can be very tricky. Another type of mixer would be a DJ mixer. We'll go into that. We'll go into that. But essentially the same devices. This actually I was more introduced into this mixer before the DJ mixer. The same concept, to be honest. In theory, I could DJ off of this mixer, to be honest. I honestly could, if I was in a pinch. Don't think I'd ever be in that type of pinch. There's also no RCAs on here. Don't matter. I could DJ on this. But anyway, on mixers, they're it's like riding a bike. They're kind of all the same, whether it be a mountain bike, whether it be a BMX bike, whether it be a unicycle. But yeah, they're all pretty much the same. So if you can start to kind of understand this, it'll make a little more sense with any other mixer down the road. But yeah, I think that's all I got for mixers. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can kind of mention. Somebody outside taking the trash. But it's a mixer. It mixes things. It mixes what you need into one, okay? Just like a blender. You put a bunch of fruits and berries, and it blends it out into a smoothie. That's pretty much the same thing. It's just with sound. All right. But thanks, guys. See you on the next one.